the baking shows on TV. There's a kids baking show. So we're going to show a quick clip about that. I think it's like 3 minutes, but just to give you an idea kind of what CCP is about and give you a comparison. Yep. Nah.
Serious pain. My hand is throbbing. The medic put some of the burn cream on my finger. This is really bad. You're gonna have to pull out the competition. Jackson just burned himself, and I hope he can finish and come back from this. Getting burned really hurts, and it's hard to keep going. Take a deep breath. I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna get back into this competition, and I'm gonna do my best.
Get back in the game?
Yeah. But
You totally got this, man.
just,
I got you back too. Yeah.
and I'm tough. I can do this.
Lunch. You know what? You can make one. There you go. Offset spatula. Pastry chefs have to be like the MacGyver. Oh, it is. You probably don't get that reference.
You're good.
You totally got this.
And then when you bring up, yeah. Okay, so you might be thinking, what does the Food Network have to do with College Credit Plus? How many of you seen that show before? Good. So you notice that it's the kids in there, and they're doing some pretty amazing things. The parents, I have no doubt, have helped them get to that point. They have been there. They have helped them in their own kitchens, in their own home. They've helped them buy the ingredients. They've helped them read the directions. But they're not there in that situation. There are medics there that were helping the boy that got burnt. There were judges there that were helping him say, yes, you can do it. This is what you can do. And later in the clip, there's also one of the teammates, and she helps him with his work. That is a lot like CCP. What we're doing is we're taking students that are not your typical age college students. CCP is open to grades 7 through 12, so sometimes we have very young students in classrooms where it's a little bit different for them, but they can do the work. It's about them doing the work. So when you have questions as parents or as students, kind of think back to that and remember, it's you, the student, that's expected to do the work. And parents, we fully expect you to be there in the background as their cheering section, like the parents in the audience, but you are the support to help these students be successful. We're going to get started. This is a full house. I know everybody's a little bit crowded, so we'll go through this presentation as quickly as possible. It is a presentation that's set up by the state of Ohio. CCP is a state program, so they've put a lot of rules and regulations in place. So we will touch on the most important points of the program. We have Holly Jacobson here from Ohio State Marion. We have Amanda Civey from Marion Tech. We have Ellie Hess from Marion Tech. I know Louis Haminga is outside, and then Ashley from Ohio State is also outside. They probably will be joining us soon. So, let me go ahead and click. What is College Credit Plus? So students can earn high school credit and college credit at the same time. It's nice. It's a 2-for-1. So say you really enjoy history, you can take history and get some advanced information, or say you really don't like history, you can take history one time and you're done for high school and you're done for the college requirement if your program requires that. Go ahead and click. It is open to grades 7 through 12. So students in grades 7 through 12 can participate in College Credit Plus as long as they have met the requirements. You can apply to public schools or private schools. There are different requirements for each, and we'll talk about that later. And you can choose from a variety of courses. Again, we'll get more into that later. I'm going to try to make the best use of your time tonight. So you can earn credits to satisfy both high school and college requirements. A lot of the courses that are very popular among high school students are classes like English composition, history, psychology, things like that that will count, because an English composition class is going to count as an English class credit requirement for your high school graduation. Same with history. History classes that you take through the College Credit Plus program are going to count for a history class that is required for you to graduate. So you can kind of see how you can make the best of these credits. And of course, you have to successfully complete the coursework to get the credit. You can take classes summer, fall, and spring, but for those of you that are interested in participating in extracurriculars like football, cheerleading, basketball, any of the extracurriculars that require the credit hours that you must be enrolled in, the summer classes that you take will not count for that requirement. So say you want to take summer classes, that's wonderful, and maybe you even take 12 credit hours in the summer, that's great, but you're still going to have to meet the credit hour requirements set by the state or by your school so you can be eligible for those extracurricular activities. If you have questions, the best thing you can do is talk to your school counselor about that. You're going to hear me say that repeatedly through this presentation. Communication is one of the most important things you can do in this program. You can take classes here on campus. Students can take classes at Ohio State. They can take classes through Marion Tech. They can do it both at the same time. They can take online classes. They can also take classes if they're offered at the high school. So step one, eligibility. Like I said, this is a state program, so the state has put the rules in place. The initial step to be eligible for College Credit Plus is that you have to meet a college ready score on your ACT, on the Accuplacer, on the SAT, or whichever test the college that you're applying to requires. MTC has an open admissions policy, so as soon as you meet the state requirements, you have then met the MTC requirements. OSU has a little bit different policy. Do you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, we require standardized test scores, so we are primarily looking at the ACT, and we're going to be looking at those sub-scores of English, reading, and math. We want an 18 in English and a 22 each in reading and math. If a student doesn't meet those requirements through the ACT, we do have some options for Accuplacer through Ohio State only, but that's kind of a case-by-case basis. Most of the students who submit test scores to us submit those ACT scores, and we would like to have those scores no later than like the April testing date if you're planning to participate the following fall.
So each college that you apply to, it's important to understand that you have to meet the state requirements, but then you would need to meet the requirements for each institution that you plan on attending. And CCP really is a wonderful opportunity because it's one of the rare occasions where you can take classes at MTC and at OSUM at the same time. So take advantage of all of the different options available. I'm going to skip this because we talked about it. I'm going to skip that. And I'm skipping through these. Again, if you have questions, at the end, the presentation is available on the Google Drive that we'll share out. It's also available on a website. There is a score range. So say your student is really close to meeting that college readiness level, talk to your school counselor because there is a score range to be considered. And if the student has a GPA of at least 3.0, or if they have a recommendation from their school counselor or principal, those are things that can also be considered. Step 2, the application. So you've tested, you know you've met at least the state's requirements for CCP, you've shown college readiness. Now you need to apply. So if you're considering going to multiple institutions, you have to apply to each institution. I know that sounds a little bit silly, but you can't just apply to one institution, and if another college has classes offered at your high school, that does not get you into those courses. So step 2 is making sure you apply. Typically the applications are available online. I know they are for MTC. If you go to mtc.edu, there's an apply word at the top of about every page. At OSUM, I think it's a pretty similar process.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to get our site is to open up just a Google browser and type in the Academy program at Ohio State, and it'll take you to our Academy or CCP. It's the same thing at OSU, our page, and it'll have the application and all the instructions there. This program, if you're looking at OSU only, you may be interested in both or considering both. We do not have a shared drive, so you could just go to the Ohio Higher Ed page website, and they have that presentation there as well.
One more thing on the application part, deadlines. The deadlines are really important. May 1st is the deadline, I think, for both.
May 1st, yeah.
May 1st is the application deadline for both institutions. It's not an instant process. There are a lot of different pieces that we need to get from the students and the schools. And after May, a lot of you are done with school. And after June, most of the counselors are also done with school. So we don't have a way to get any missing information if we don't get that information in before the end of the school year. So May 1st is really an important deadline, especially if you're interested in taking classes that are offered at your high school. May 1st. May 1st. Got it? Step 3. So if you have applied, you've met the testing requirements, you've applied, you've been accepted, there are a couple different options. If you're interested in taking classes at the high school, you should meet with your school counselor and talk about what options are available there. They may also talk to you about some of the options available at different campuses that they work with. If you meet the application requirements, you get that acceptance letter, and you want to take classes on campus or online, you would contact that institution, so Marion Tech or OSUM, and you would set up an advising appointment. And that's really key because that will help you understand why you're taking these classes. College Credit Plus is a great program. It's also a program where students can take classes and they might not really have a clue why they're taking those. The goal in this program is to really make sure you're making progress towards your long-term educational goals. So when you sit down with your advisor, you can say, hey, I'm not quite sure what I want to do, but I know I want to work on progress towards my 4-year degree. And they'll say, okay, let's focus on transfer courses. Let's look at what Ohio State really likes in these areas. You can also go and say, hey, I want to earn a certificate while I'm in high school. And the advisor will be able to say, okay, this is what I recommend your first year. Here's a pathway we've plotted out for high school students so you can earn a certificate while you're in high school. And there are really some great job opportunities for students to do that where they'd be ready for a career as soon as they graduate from high school and they'd have their certificate complete. So a lot of neat opportunities there, but again, meet with your advisor, meet with your school counselor because they will be the ones to get you started in the right direction.
In setting that and choosing classes, I know with the CC program with OSU, I just done that with my daughter, but with MTC, can you also test out of levels? Like if you've had 6 years of Spanish, could you maybe pass level 1 and level 2
Yeah.
and get those credits as well?
So the question she asked was, can you test out of classes? That's a yes and a no. So if students want to test out of classes at MTC, they can. That credit might count toward their degree progress at MTC, but it will not transfer because that's just going to show up as a tested course on the MTC transcript. Is it the same?
They meet prerequisites. And,
Okay.
Yeah, so we do the placement testing and make sure they meet those requirements.
Sound good? Okay.
So is that also when you use those, say you pass Spanish 1 and you got the 4 credits for it, or 2 credits, whatever it is, that counts in your allotted amount of credits for that year? Is that correct still? Is that still the same way at MTC? You can only do so many.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we will definitely get to that. If anyone has questions, we will allow opportunities at the end of this presentation. You can ask questions for the group. We talked a bit about this. The courses can satisfy high school graduation requirements. Talk to your school counselors. They're going to be the ones that make this decision, so make sure you're communicating with your school counselors, hey, this is what I plan to take for the year, or after you register for your classes, send the schedule to your school counselor to make sure they have that information. There's a lot of neat information available on the Ohio Department of Higher Education. They have a crosswalk where you can kind of see, okay, I'm taking a college class in this area. Is it going to equate to a high school subject area? So neat resources there. In addition to there are state high school graduation requirements, but your individual school might have other graduation requirements. So again, communicate with your school counselor, make sure you're progressing toward your high school graduation, because ultimately we want to see you take college classes, but you've got to graduate from high school also. We talked about this a little bit. Meeting with the advisors, very important. Talking to your school counselors. If you haven't gotten that point yet, you will by the end of this presentation. They want you to succeed. They want to make sure you're taking classes that make sense for you. We want you to be successful in these college courses. They're tough courses. So listen to the people who are guiding you, because we want to make sure that the placement of the courses and maybe the timing of the courses is appropriate for where you are in your education. How many of you have heard of a prerequisite before? Good. That's more than I'm used to. In college, students are going to take courses through the CCP program just like any other college student. So there may be courses where they don't have prerequisites. So as long as they've tested into the College Credit Plus program, then they're like any other student and they can take any of those courses. But there may be additional testing or course requirements depending on the classes you want to take. So you have to test to get into CCP, and then you may have to test again to meet course prerequisites depending on the courses you'd like to take. Level 1 and Level 2, these are the different courses that the state has put in place. These are some of the specifics that we can go over during advising appointments. If you really have questions, it's also available on the ODHE website. Basically, Level 1 courses are all transfer courses. The state wants to make sure that the students are getting courses that are going to decrease their time toward a degree and also their debt. So they want to make sure they transfer. Yep, you can skip. We have the transfer information available on the website. Once students meet 15 credit hours, their opportunities really open up a lot. But that's, again, an advising thing that we can go over all of those options with students. Non-allowable classes, again, through advising, a lot of this is going to happen. This is a state program. This is funded by taxpayers. So they want to make sure that these courses are counting towards your degree progress. They want to make sure that students are taking classes that make sense. Okay, grades. This is an important one. High school grades, obviously they're very important. A lot of students focus on their grades because they want to meet a salutatorian or valedictorian status. Those grades in high school are absolutely important, and they get you into college. And then they might be forgotten about a little bit. When you're taking classes through the College Credit Plus program, these are college courses, and you are forming your permanent college transcript. These don't go away. So it's very important, again, to listen to the counselors and to listen to the advisors about what courses they recommend, about tutoring resources, because your success in these courses can help you tremendously when you transfer. I've heard tons of really great stories. But if you don't do well in these courses, that can also hurt your ability to go on to a four-year college in a selective enrollment program. I know some programs, even if students don't choose to send their transcripts, they will look into the state system to see if students have taken any dual enrollment coursework. And if they haven't done well there, that's something that can then make them not eligible for that program. So it's really important to make sure you're doing everything you can to be successful in these classes. If you want to take over anytime, you can. Go ahead and skip. And these courses will be factored into the high school GPA. If the courses are weighted, since we have a broad range of schools here, if your school weights courses, that's something you need to talk to the school counselor about, because if it's in the same area, it may be weighted. We talked about this, so we'll skip. So the 30 credit hours, that's a really important number for College Credit Plus program. Students can take 30 credit hours a year in this program, and that is a mix of high school courses and college courses. So one full year course at the high school, so say you're taking math, and it's a year-long math class, and it's 1 credit hour. That counts for 3 credit hours toward this formula. So say you're taking math and history and government and science and English at the high school. So you've used 15 of the 30 credit hours here. Those 5 are just high school classes. That still leaves you with 15 additional courses that you could take through the College Credit Plus program. Why is it important to communicate with your school counselor? Because they are required to track classes that you take if you're taking classes through MTC, if you're taking classes through Ohio State, if you're taking classes through Findlay or Cincinnati, wherever you're taking them, because you can take them through multiple institutions, they track those. And if you are not communicating with them and you go over on those hours, then you either drop the course or you have to pay for the course. And some people are fine with that, but most of the time people are taking classes through this program because it is free, which is wonderful. And Ohio has one of the few states where this is completely free to students. Students can also take 120 credit hours total throughout the lifetime of the program. That's really reaching bachelor level degree. I haven't seen any students get close to that. We do see students earn certificates and associate degrees quite often through both of our institutions, but it'd be great to see someone earn their bachelor's. We just talked about that, so we can skip. Here we're getting more into what are the differences. So high school, there's a lot of this happening. I'm talking to you, I'm telling the students about what's expected, I'm going over all of these requirements, and I'm telling you everything that's needed and reminding you of things. They might be reminding you of test dates. You might have more frequent tests. In college, you're going to be expected to, say this was a college class, you might be expected to come here tonight, and I'm going to say, okay, I want everybody to open up your CCP book and let's discuss what the credit hour requirements are. And the expectation is that you would have come to this class prepared and you'd all be able to participate in that conversation, because a lot of the learning is on your own. There's a lot more independent learning. So it's just a little bit different. There are higher expectations, but those are things you need to know, some of the differences between what happens in high school versus what happens in college. Study time. How many love studying?
I'm just curious how many hours you all study.
I know. How many of you?
Just throw it out. How many hours do you study a week?
0.
0. That's a common answer. Yes. Anything else? Anybody study like 9, 10, 12 hours a week? No.
There may be classes in college where you do. Now, it's not every class, but once you get into the upper level classes, that is very much a realistic expectation. So again, something to talk to your advisors about, something to talk to your school counselors about. How many extracurricular activities are you participating in? Are you also working a part-time job? Are you going to school full-time and taking college classes? What college classes are you taking? What are your strengths? So make sure you're having those conversations with the people involved in scheduling your classes. We talked about this a little bit already, the knowledge acquisition. A lot on the college side, they're going to expect you to read and understand before you come to class. In high school, they're going to give you a lot more information during class. Grades, high school, often you're going to have more quizzes, more homework, more assessments. In college, I don't think this is typically the case because colleges do try to assess students more, but the professor of the class is really the person who determines what they're going to do in the class, and that is okay. That is college. So you may have a professor that says, this is the midterm. We're going to have this midterm, and then we're going to have this final. Those are your grades for the term. Look at your course syllabus. When you get that at the beginning of the term, kind of try to figure out, is this a class for me? Because at most institutions, you're going to have some time to make a decision on if you want to stay in that class, and then you can drop the class with no fault. You won't be charged, the school won't be charged, there will be no transcript entry. So make sure you're paying attention to those dates. Parent role. We have a ton of parents here tonight, and that is wonderful. Part of the video that we showed earlier is for a reason. Parents of CCP students, you have gotten your students to this point. You've obviously done a great job. They're high-achieving students. They have met college-ready scores while they are in middle school or high school. That's great. From the college perspective, they're college students. We don't have any special asterisks that says CCP student. There's nothing noted in their file when the professors have them in class that's going to say they are a College Credit Plus student. The professors are going to expect them to perform just the same as any other students in the class. If a parent calls in and asks questions, we can give a lot of general information, but if they want specific information about grades, we cannot give that information out unless we have a FERPA release. There are HIPAA laws. I think a lot of you probably work in healthcare and you've heard of HIPAA. On the educational side, we have FERPA laws, and it is student privacy. Even if your child is 14 and they're taking college classes and you want to call in and ask how they're doing or what their grades are, that's not something that we're going to be able to give out. If you call the professors and ask, they're probably not going to really give you a lot of information about your student. Again, this is a program where students have some really great opportunities. Learning the information about the classes is part of it. What you can do as a parent is help your student learn how to communicate as a college student. Help them learn how to email. If they're struggling in a class, support them and say, hey, this is what you can do. Help them compose the email to their professor. That way they're learning these skills that are essential as college students. help them call and make advising appointments. Yes, they should be the ones calling and making those appointments. You are welcome to come with them, but we as advisors or counselors want to hear from the students, because ultimately, if the student is not taking the lead on this, the chances of them being successful goes down significantly. This program is wonderful. There's some great options for students, but it's also a really great opportunity to help your students learn how to be successful, not just in the classroom, but once they leave your home and go off to college and they don't have you there. So teaching them these things helps them in the long run. We talked about that. So we talked about the drop deadline. Every college has a drop deadline where they're not going to be charged. Very important. Look at your syllabus. Make sure it's going to work with your schedule. If you do not drop by that deadline, say you drop and the deadline is the 15th, you email in, you're like, I can't do this, I'm going to drop the class. Perfect. If you email the next day and you're like, I can't do this, I want to drop the class, it then becomes a W. It's a withdraw on your transcript. It does go on your transcript. Doesn't negatively impact your GPA, but you may be charged for that course. So it's important to understand that withdrawals and fails, you may be required to repay your school district for the cost of that course, and that can be hundreds of dollars. So important to pay attention to those deadlines. Future financial aid. College Credit Plus students, like I said earlier, they start to build their college transcript. We have students that will graduate from high school and they may have 30, 40, 50, they may even have an associate's degree. That counts towards their future financial aid eligibility, which is why we want to make sure the courses that they're taking count toward their degree progress. Because if they have that many credit hours, that's that many credit hours that they do not have eligibility for once they have graduated from high school and are using federal financial aid. The financial aid rule, it's called the 150% rule. So say you have a student who's interested in getting a bachelor's degree. We're just going to say for the sake of being easy, 4 years. So it's 4 years to get a bachelor's degree. For financial aid purposes, you get 6 years. If you've used 2 years of eligibility through the College Credit Plus program, then you don't get 6 anymore, you get 4 because it's based on your credit hours. When you go to college and you've graduated from high school, talk to the financial aid office about all of those options. If you withdraw from too many courses during the College Credit Plus program, say you take College Credit Plus, you're in the College Credit Plus program for all 4 years while you're in high school, and maybe you withdraw from one course each year, doesn't seem like much. That would be about 12 credit hours. That's roughly 1 semester of college that you have lost financial aid eligibility for. So it's really important to make sure you understand the long-term benefits and consequences of this program. There are a lot of different things we could talk about with the probation warning policies. They're really different for every school. If your student or if you, the student, are participating in the College Credit Plus program through different colleges, then you may be part of this. Talk to your school counselor. You may be on one that you're just going to go by the institution's policy, or you might be required to follow the state's policy. Either way, that's something that's going to be calculated by the school counselor. And one more reason to communicate with your school counselor often and early. And you can skip that. Yeah, can skip. Why is this so popular? Why do we have a room full of people here? It's free. It's free. It really is a wonderful program. dual enrollment is a national program, but I know that many states will charge maybe half tuition or a certain percentage of tuition or a flat rate for the fees. So take advantage of it. Make sure you are doing the work because it is free. There are not any fees that the students are going to have to pay that are associated with tuition or books. If you go to a private school, there may be some tuition fees, but it's typically at a reduced rate. Again, talk to the institutions where you plan to attend. I know at Ohio State and at Marion Tech, there are no tuition charges unless you withdraw or fail from the class. Parking and transportation. We don't charge parking fees even. Do you guys know? We don't even do that. Transportation, we obviously are not going to provide transportation for all of the students. So you would be expected to come to campus if you're taking classes on campus. Support services. These are wonderful. You have counselors at your school. You have advisors at the college. You have your parents. You have so many different things in place to help you be successful in this program. Students, it's really up to you to do the work. So make sure you're doing the work, make sure you're checking in and communicating, learning how to step up, communicate, ask if you have questions, things like that. I'm not going to talk at all about the athletic eligibility piece. If you have questions about athletic eligibility, you really need to talk to your school counselor. Anybody have a tab on how many times I've said that tonight? It's important. Communication with the school counselor. We send several reports to the school counselors, but it's always good, especially if you're checking in on specific questions for you, check with the school counselor. We focus a lot on transferability. We have some really great programs that we've partnered with Ohio State on, so courses will transfer seamlessly. You can check out websites like the Transfer Credit, or you can go to transferology.com. What's really neat about that website is you can start an account. It's easy. It's a username and password, or it's an email and password. And then as you take classes, you can put them in there and you can look to see exactly how they will transfer at any institution that participates. So you can see exactly which course at MTC will count and what it is at Ohio State. So you can see English Comp at MTC counts as whichever course it is.
English 1110.
At Ohio State. The tag, the importance of the tag or Ohio Transfer Module classes is that these courses have the same requirements for the professors. They have the same course outcomes for the students. That's why they will transfer to any public institution in the state of Ohio. We've talked a lot about this, college ready. This is a big topic on college campuses. You will be expected not just to be college ready on a test. You will be expected to come to class prepared like any other college student would. You will be expected to do the communication. I've had parents who will call and ask me questions, and I say I'm happy to go over general information, but we are not the principals of College Credit Plus. We have had parents that have called and said, oh, well, I need you to help me with this professor because this is what they're doing. And I'm going to say, your student needs to contact the professor if they have questions. And we've had repeat phone calls sometimes where they might not like the answer I give, so they'll call Ellie. And Ellie's going to say the same thing because we really don't, we organize this and we make sure all of the courses are in place. But once students are College Credit Plus students in the College Credit Plus program, they are taking college classes. So those expectations are the same as any other college student we would have. And that's really important to have conversations in your household about if you're ready for that. Is that something you feel comfortable with? It's also something you can talk to your school counselor about. It's also something you can talk to the advisors at the college about, because we can help you plot courses that say you're brand new to this. Let's look at this course, because this is a better course for a first-time student than maybe like anatomy and physiology. So those are all things we can go over. Time management, I will touch on that. Time management is really big for college students. Early college, College Credit Plus, any college students, you have to learn how to study and manage your time. April 1st, this is a state deadline, so letter of intent. You're all here, obviously, because you're interested in College Credit Plus. Letter of intent is required to be turned in to your school. Take that, fill it out to the school counselor. Even if you are mildly interested, fill that out. It does not lock you into participating from this program, but if you don't complete that, then you may not be able to be part of this program. So say you're like, oh, I'm not quite sure what I want to do, and you don't turn that in, and then maybe in August you decide, well, no, I want to take classes because, you know, Joey and Sam and Annie are all in this class and they think it's pretty cool. You might not be able to do it. So make sure if you're interested at all that you get the letter of intent. It's a form that you fill out, and you will turn that into the school counselor.
Your high school counselor should have a copy of those forms, and if not, again, you can go to the Ohio Higher Ed website and download your form there. And I highly recommend just going and doing that, and that gives you the opportunity to make a decision later if you decide to participate.
If you are a student here from River Valley, Mrs. LaBarge outside in the area out there, and she has the letter, I believe she has letters of intent that you can fill out tonight. We also have the disability coordinator from Marion Tech, Jennifer Montag. She is outside, so if your student has an IEP or a 504 or any other accommodations that you would like to talk to a college representative about, she is phenomenal. There are a lot of differences between IEPs and 504s and what accommodations can be made between high schools and colleges. So she is here and she's a wonderful resource. Go ahead and skip. The deadline for admission, we already went over that, May 1st, May 1st, May 1st. Go ahead. If you have questions, we're almost done, so not too bad. ohiohighered.org/CCP, tons of great information there. And then if you want to skip to the next one. If you are interested in CCP at Marion Tech, we have Remind. We don't have a lot of paperwork that we're going to send home with you, but if you sign up for the Remind, we will send out one text to you, and it's going to have a link to our Google Drive. It will have application instructions, all of the information that you need to start CCP through MTC. Any questions?
To apply to Ohio State, there were some red papers out on the table. You can grab those if you haven't done so already. And I just joke about this presentation. It's a great presentation, but I'm like, hey, if you're ever having trouble sleeping, you can go look this up. And I see the guy in the first, oh, no, he's out. We have officially put our first person to sleep with this program, so.
If you have any questions, we will be available afterwards. River Valley students, meet with Mrs. LaBarge out there.
That was